we're seeing a lot more backyard goats is as small animal practitioners as just pets. So I have a new client that comes in with a backyard goat that only just stays in the backyard, not exposed to any other livestock. What are my recommendations to that owner as far as parasite control?
If the goat is living by itself in somebody's backyard and not exposed to other animals, I treat it as if it was coming to a quarantine area, and so I deworm it. If you gave it to them when they first got there and kept them in a small area, you're gonna get rid of the bulk of the parasites. And then if you just check the parasites once a year on a goat living by itself, they're not going to share parasites with dogs, shouldn't. Occasionally they'll get fleas on and stuff like that, but you ain't treat them. Small of it, no more about fleas than I ever will. And I would just watch them once a year, have them bring the goat to you and do a fecal flotation. All the parasites of serious significance that are internal, gastrointestinal parasites, are going to look like hookworm eggs. They're going to be strong gels, and with the exception of nematodyrs, he's a bigger egg, or she has a lot bigger egg. But they look like hookworm eggs, and if you find them, then you just deworm them again.
So you talked a little bit about the FDA regulation and withdrawal times. What do small animal practitioners need to know when we are working on these backyard pet goats?
Yeah, not just backyard pet goats, pot-bellied pigs. Even though they're not going to be eaten by anybody, they're still food animals. The FDA is pretty good to us. They give us a little leeway on some stuff like that, but they don't want things in the food chain. And as veterinarians, particularly food animal veterinarians, I apologize for rubbing my nose like that. I'm not supposed to do that, but I'm trying really hard to hold my belly in, but it's not working. In a minute, it's going to fall down again. But if I follow what they want to do, and I think they're right, they don't want us to overuse antibiotics, and they don't want antibiotics to get in the food chain, and that's a noble thing. So if I have any questions, I'm going to call FARAT, or in Missouri, you got two great vet schools here. Call the food animal section at Columbia, or the food animal section over there at Manhattan, and ask them. Say, hey, I've got a pot-bellied pig, or I've got a goat, or a pet cow, or a pet sheep, and give me some ideas of what I can use from that's useful in a food animal. And granted, this is an animal that probably shouldn't be eaten, but if times get hard, people have eaten other people in snowbound areas. So if times get hard, they might eat their pet goat. So we want to follow these rules that they set forth if we can.
Standard practice has been suppressive dewormings. What are the things that small animal practitioners need to know?
That would be like the heartworm treatment, suppressive heartworm prevention, suppressive flea control by a routine deworm program. I want to avoid that in gastrointestinal parasites of goats and sheep. I want to avoid it in horses too. But I want to avoid it in goats and sheep because we've got pre-patent periods in those things that are at worst 28 days and at best 7 days in certain areas at certain times of year, maybe occasionally in a goat. Could be based on some research. Well, we're talking about a new life cycle, and if you're deworming regularly, you're gonna make huge genetic selection progress in the worm, and you can't kill all the worms. So if you the more frequently suppressively you deworm, the only ones that survive are the ones that you couldn't kill. And there's a reason you couldn't kill them. Maybe they didn't see the worm, or more likely they got some genetic predisposition not to be killed by that dewormer you gave at that dose you gave it. And they're the ones who have sex, and they're the ones who lay eggs. And real quickly, you make genetic progress in the worm, and that ain't no good. You with me on this? So suppressive deworming is illogical. I bet you the fellows who are the flea specialists and the heartworm specialists would probably say, there's some research now that shows that heartworms are beginning to be resistant to some of our drugs. Ooh, oh no. Well, we do know that dewormers, and I apologize going on, but in goats and sheep definitely are. We got some worms in certain locales that can't nothing kill. I mean, unless you've got a ball-peen hammer, you can kill them inside the gut, and that's not going to happen. You might have to give dewormers for a long time, like 5 days in a row. You might have to up the dose. You might have to use 2 different classes of dewormers, but you got to do some other things too. And it makes more sense. I apologize for going on. It makes more sense not to just suppressively deworm, but let's look, and I hate this word holistic. That's a hippie word, but I hate the word, but we got to look at it that way. Holistic really means, and we're holistic. And I don't know why we have allowed people to decide that they're holistic and have co-opted us. Veterinarians are holistic. We look at diet, we look at husbandry, and we look at medicine. And we have to view parasite control in those same parameters. We can't just rely on a dewormer. We've got to look at the way we manage the ground, manage the pasture, and feed the animal. And then we only deworm the ones that need to be dewormed, not everybody.